The Premier League is back. It's back. Look, I've got a few talking points with regards to matchday night, this coming match day of the Premier League. You know, as now that the Premier League will be returning this weekend, and we all know that Erik ten Hag, he is desperate for a Manchester United victory, and Liverpool will also host Chelsea on Sunday evening. That's the big clash that we're all looking forward to. And you look at the injury hit Arsenal that will be heading away to Bournemouth. And that's also going to be a very tough encounter for the Gunners, right? So following a second international break of the season, the Premier League will hopefully be back with a bang this weekend, right? And those who dread the 2-week breaks can hardly complain this time, because the void was filled by the appointment of Thomas Tuchel as the New England manager. But the wait is over nevertheless. And there are four more game weeks until the next international break. So I would want us to dive deep into what we can expect this weekend, right? So first, starting with the fact that Liverpool, they do lead Manchester City as well as Arsenal at the top of the table. Whilst on the other hand, there are four sides that are still without victory after 7 matches. And both of those things could change this weekend, with a few managers under intense pressure and trying to avoid becoming the first to be sacked this season. Where Erik ten Hag, the Dutchman, he's one of the managers that are under the pump after a dreadful run of form. With Sir Jim Ratcliffe, running out of patience. And if a defeat could actually trigger a sacking, based on my perspective, a defeat could literally trigger a sacking for Erik ten Hag, right? So he needs to win. He has got no choice. But victory it should be his only prerogative right now. Okay? So the first game that I want us to start with is the London Derby. Okay? Between Tottenham Hotspurs as well as West Ham United. So remember, Tottenham, it's now North vs East London, right? It's a North vs East London derby. Remember, Tottenham hailing from the north side of London, and then West Ham United hailing from the east side of London. This will be the first game of the Premier League this weekend, right? At the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, whilst with Spurs taking on West Ham. And it is a big one for the home side, coming 2 weeks after they were embarrassed by Brighton. And Ange Postecoglou's side had a 2-0 lead at the Amex Stadium, right? Only to lose 3-2 in a dramatic turnaround. And it left their manager absolutely furious. The Australian manager even launched into a passionate, post-match rant in which he slammed these complacent players for the worst defeat of his reign at Tottenham. And you could understand why, because that was just crazy. I mean, Tottenham just couldn't even manage the game. They were in tatters. It was just a very poor performance, dreadful performance from them, because they were in control of the game. But I don't understand how they failed to actually manage the game. And that reaction is actually required against West Ham United, who should also be confident after that morale-boosting 4-1 victory over Ipswich just about a few weeks ago. And Postecoglou is still seething, So it is actually a must-win for both teams, because also West Ham didn't really have a great start to the season, but that morale 4-1 victory over Ipswich Town perhaps can give them a bit of a confidence booster going into this particular London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And look, let's also talk about two sides that are also struggling, right? We head straight to the game between Ipswich against Everton. So the Tractor Boys are yet to pick up a win since they were being promoted to the Premier League. And they're in a better shape than the other 3 winless sides, having drawn 4, but they still remain desperate for victory. And a visit from their fellow strugglers, Everton, is actually a great opportunity for them to actually secure their first victory of the Premier League season. What Ipswich do have in their favor is like their informed striker, the summer signing Liam Delap. He's got 4 top-flight goals this season already, including 3 in his past 2 games. And he actually comes well-rested, having been suspended for England under-21s, second match of the break. So basically, how can I put it? If you want to go and fight him, he will match you, right? So if you want to race him, he will race. And I'm talking about Liam. He's a top number 9 striker. and he's also going to keep on developing, and he's actually going to be very pivotal if Ipswich are to survive the drop come end of the season. And then, moving on to the other one, the third game, moving to Old Trafford, ladies and gentlemen, Ten Hag is actually under the pump. He definitely is under the pump because, the international break was not a restful period for Ten Hag, who was actually subject of much speculation in the first week, as Ratcliffe and the United executives met for an ominous meeting in London. And he has actually kept his job for the time being. And with Tuchel now gainfully employed, one rival is out of the picture, but he knows that his time is actually running out. And United have now gone 5 matches without victory, and they've only scored a pathetic 5 goals in the Premier League this season, 3 of which came in one match against Southampton, which is a disgrace. For a team of Manchester United's caliber, that's a disgrace. Ten Hag also now he doesn't have any more excuses. It's time for him to actually deliver, because if they can stop Brentford from scoring in the first minute, that would actually be a great start. However, victory is Ten Hag's only prerogative. There's no other way. And then you look at Aston Villa traveling to West Londoners, Fulham, at Craven Cottage. So, look, Villa have actually qualified for the Champions League last season by finishing 4th. And the season before, it was actually Newcastle who enjoyed that privilege, following a brilliant campaign. So far, it is looking like Chelsea could be the team to take that position as the best of the race. But Fulham have also made a very strong start to the campaign, and they might just fancy themselves, right? Marco Silva suggested aiming for European football was not realistic when asked in May, and is always one to play things down. But stranger things do happen in football, and stranger things have happened in football, because you look at the fact that Fulham have actually secured victories over Newcastle as well as Nottingham Forest, which were also followed by a valiant 3-2 defeat by Manchester City. So victory over Aston Villa on Saturday may turn some heads around, for the cottagers. And look, let's also go straight to St. James's Park. St. James's Park. Newcastle taking on Brighton. Eddie Howe has been surrounded by talk of him leaving Newcastle for the England job in recent weeks, So with Tuchel now appointed, all that noise has now gone and he can focus on the job at hand. So there has been friction behind the scenes at Newcastle, with Howe admitting to a difficult summer due to struggles in the transfer market. And with all that's gone, the Magpies have actually made a solid start, with 3 victories and 3 draws from 7 games. And a visit from a wide open and easy on the eye Brighton could actually be one of the best matches of the weekend. And then we head straight to St. Mary's. Look, this is just like a summary of all the games, right? I'm not gonna go into too much detail with regards to all the games, but I'm just gonna, talk about the specifics, that we need to look at going into those games, So, excuse me. Now going to the game between Southampton and Leicester City. It's a very important game for the Saints. They need to secure victory, because I'm sure they're desperate for victory. Russell Martin has been something of a broken record this season, and insisting there is something to be proud of from his team, despite the results not actually going their way. It was actually the same story last time out, after that 3-1 defeat to Arsenal. But this time he had a point. There were signs of life for the struggling Saints. And you look at Tyler Dibling, he has actually been a constant source of hope. While there is actually a sense that Martin is getting closer to finally working out his best starting 11 following much tinkering. And Southampton have already lost at home to a Nottingham Forest and have actually thrown 2 points away, against Ipswich at St. Mary's. So they really need to break their duck, and which stretches to 20 Premier League games when their final results of the 2022-2023 relegation campaign are actually factored in. So they haven't won in 20 games. 20 Premier League games, if you think about it. Yes, for last season they didn't play. They were in the championship. So you look at the last season, which was 2 seasons back, last season that they actually featured in the Premier League, they struggled for victory. So now you combine that, they haven't won a Premier League game in 20 matches. So you combine that with this season's results so far. And then, Arsenal, the Gunners. Do you see? I still think, despite Arsenal's injuries, I don't really think that they will struggle against Bournemouth. I don't really see them struggling. However, Arsenal have not actually enjoyed international breaks this season. Because after losing Martin Odegaard in September, they actually suffered a scare, when Bukayo Saka hobbled off during England's defeat by Greece last Thursday. And thankfully, it seems that Saka will be okay to feature against Bournemouth. And there is actually a wider question for Mikel Arteta. Should he rest his star winger? And he should a bit, maybe for the first half, not start him, but bring him on maybe in the second half, give him a run out for 30 to 40 minutes in the second half. And Saka, remember, it must be actually noted that Saka has started every game for the club and country this season, before missing the trip to Finland on Sunday. And perhaps they could learn something from Rodgers' injury after a hugely intense work schedule. So after the Saints win, Arteta actually admitted that he had been tempted to rotate Saka this season. So it's very important for Arsenal to actually manage the load on him, right? But at the moment, he is actually in a good place, it seems, and it will actually be interesting to see how he will be used on Saturday. Look, and then let's head straight to the Molineux. Wolverhampton Wanderers taking on Manchester City. Remember this fixture last season, ladies and gentlemen, how it ended? That was Manchester City's defeat. Even Spurs lost there at the Molineux last season. So, Wolves have actually enjoyed an absolutely miserable start to the season. And they actually find themselves rock bottom with just a solitary point, having been, handed a nasty fixture list. And they don't just feel hard done by on account for the schedule, which handed them Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, Liverpool straight up. They also actually have plenty of misfortune on the pitch. Unfortunately for Gary O'Neill, it doesn't get any easier. With Manchester City visiting the Molineux this weekend, and like most sides, Wolves have a dreadful record against City, having lost 7 of their last 8 in the league by an aggregate scoreline of 25-6. Oh my goodness. 25-6 is basically a rugby score. But there is actually hope, because you rewind, like I said earlier on, to September 30 last season, and Wolves ended Manchester City's 100% record in the league, with a 2-1 victory at the Molineux. Something similar would actually provide a much needed boost for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And then we go straight to the big one. The clash that is on everybody's lips and that everybody's eyes are actually anticipating. Liverpool versus Chelsea. Look, Enzo Maresca has actually made quite the impact at Chelsea this season. Whipping a bloated but talented squad into shape to show some flashes of what the Blues can actually be. They sit 4th in the Premier League and actually have enjoyed some remarkable successes already. You think about players like Noni Madueke's hat-trick at Wolverhampton Wanderers and Cole Palmer's 4 goals against Brighton. So Chelsea's only defeat in the league came against City, and they will actually have their mettle tested at Anfield this weekend. So Liverpool actually have the best defensive record with 5 clean sheets from 7 games, and Forest have actually shown it is possible to win at Anfield. So if Chelsea can actually do the same, then people might start, taking them very seriously. And I think you should take them seriously. You should. And then the next one, Crystal Palace. Look, the positivity from the end of last season under Olivier Glasner, now feels like a long time ago at Crystal Palace, because they are yet to actually secure victory this season. They have just only scored 5 goals in the Premier League this season. The same as a dreadful United attack, and the same tally that they managed in the final game of last season at home to Villa. So the pieces should actually be there, with Glasgow often fielding John Philip Mateta, Eddie Nketiah, and Eberechi Eze, but it's simply not happening for them. So the creative burden should actually fall upon Eze, who actually has got 1 goal in 7 league games so far, but contributing 11 and 4 assists in last season, right? So Palace actually need more from their main man on Monday evening. You know what I'm saying? Because it's actually a must-win for them against Nottingham Forest. Well, anyway, that's it for now. right? We'll be back very soon. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Football is indeed a religion, and I will be back with you very soon. Hope you guys have a great day. Cheers, man.